The experiments on retrocausality were conducted by Antonella Vannini. Antonella Vannini is a psychotherapist and hypnotherapist. She holds a doctorate in cognitive psychology, during which she carried out 4 experiments aimed at studying the retrocausal hypothesis of syntropy. Ulisse Di Corpo, psychologist and statistician, has been working on the topic of syntropy since 1977. In 2001, after the marriage with Ulisse, Antonella returned to university and chose cognitive psychology. During the first thesis, she slipped on the equation from where syntropy begins. Working on the topic of consciousness, Antonella had come across the model of Chris King, who explains free will as a state of continuous choice between future and past. King started from the same equation from which syntropy arises, the energy-momentum-mass equation, developed by Einstein in 1905. Since energy is squared, there are 2 solutions: an energy that diverges forward in time and one that diverges backward in time. The energy that diverges backwards in time was considered impossible because it implies retrocausality. Einstein solved the problem by stating that the speed of physical bodies is very low when compared to the speed of light, and for this reason the momentum can be considered equal to 0. In this way, he returned to the E equal mc square, which has only positive solution, forward in time. In 1924, the spin of electrons was discovered, a speed of rotation close to that of light. For this reason, in quantum mechanics, we must use the extended energy-momentum-mass equation with the inconvenient backwards in time solution. Consequently, quantum mechanics is dual. The dual manifestation of matter, particles and waves, where particles are the manifestation of causality acting from the past, while waves are the manifestation of causality that flows from the future. Causality and retrocausality, particles and waves, emitters and absorbers. The manifestations of reality are dual. One aspect expresses diverging energy, the other converging energy. Luigi Fantapie named this second aspect syntropy. Luigi Fantapie was born in Viterbo on September 15, 1901. He graduated in mathematics at the age of 21 at the Normale di Pisa, one of the most prestigious universities in Italy. He was well known among physicists. At university he was a friend of Enrico Fermi. As soon as he graduated, he traveled to France and Germany, where he lectured and met the major physicists of the time. But as a mathematician, he could not accept that physicists had arbitrarily rejected the retrocausal solution. He began to list the mathematical properties of the 2 solutions and found that the energy that diverges forward in time is governed by the law of entropy that goes towards dissipation and thermal death, while the one that diverges backward in time that for us moving forward in time is converging energy, concentrates energy, increases temperatures, creates differentiation, complexity, and order. These are the mysterious properties of life that no one could explain. He would have been entitled to the Nobel, but retrocausality was a taboo and Fantapie was unable to carry out experiments to support his theory. At this point, Antonella Vanini enters the scene with her experiments. 4 experiments carried out for the doctorate in cognitive psychology. The hypothesis was quite simple and was the following. If life feeds on syntropy and syntropy propagates backwards in time, the parameters of the autonomic nervous system that supports vital functions should react in advance to future stimuli. Antonella had found a series of experiments in the scientific literature which showed that heart rate and skin conductance react in advance to stimuli that arouse emotions. The first experiment dates to 1997 and was carried out by Dean Radin of the Noetic Research Institute. The results showed that when we present emotional and neutral images to a person, heart rate and skin conductance activate before images with emotional content. In other words, the autonomic nervous system can feel the future even when there is no way to know it since it is completely randomized. Another important study was done by Daryl Bem. Bem replicated standard experiments in psychology, but in a retrocausal way. For example, in priming experiments, the person is asked to respond as quickly as possible, indicating whether an image is pleasant or unpleasant. When a prime is inserted before the answer, that is, an image shown before the threshold so quickly that we don't realize we have seen it. When the prime is congruent with the image that was shown, that is, the image is positive and the prime is positive, the reaction time is faster. When the prime is not congruent, for example, a positive image is followed by a negative prime, the reaction time is slower. In retrocausality, the prime is shown after the person has responded. First, we have the image, then the person's reaction time, and then the prime. The prime is shown after the subject's response, and the results show that it affects the reaction time. The retrocausal effect was observed, but no theory other than syntropy could explain this effect. Syntropy predicts this effect, as it says that everything is the result of the encounter between causes and that act from the past and causes, or perhaps it is better to say attractors, which act from the future. Antonella's experiments used colors. 4 colors in full screen were shown. For example, first blue, then green, red, and yellow. Each color remained on the screen for 4 seconds. At this point, a screen with the 4 colors appeared and the person had to choose the color it thought the computer would select. Once the choice was made, the computer randomly selected the color and displayed it full screen. This procedure was repeated 100 times for each subject. The results show that the heart rate is activated in advance in a different way according to each color selected by the computer in the third phase. We see that the heart rate increases for red and green colors and decreases for yellow and blue colors. It is important to say that each person showed a different reaction. In some, the heart rate increased due to red. In others, it decreased, and this created problems in the data analysis. Classical analysis use parametric techniques such as the analysis of variance and students T and had difficulties in showing this effect. While non-parametric statistical techniques such as chi-square could show this effect and the results were very stable. The academic world is based on the dogma that causes must always precede their effects. As long as syntropy was relegated to a philosophy, it was tolerated. But when the experiments on retrocausality began to support this theory, the reactions were incredibly violent. They tried to expel Antonella from university. They violently attacked her on a personal level. None of the tutors accompanied her before the National Commission. She was left alone. The National Commission found nothing to complain, and in the end, Antonella obtained her doctorate. Antonella received support only from Robert Jahn, Dean of the Princeton School of Engineering. Also involved in similar research works and the subject of incredible attacks. Antonella has published a book with them. An award was given for the best theater play on syntropy. She participated in conferences. However, syntropy is still being censored. Although many are discovering retrocausality, in 2005 Wikipedia removed the syntropy page and it is now no longer possible to create it. The reader is directed to negentropy, which is a completely different concept. Truth, however, cannot be kept hidden forever. For more information, the website syntropia.it allows to download for free books on the topic, including Antonella's doctoral thesis, A Syntropic Model of Consciousness, and a short version relating only to the experiments, titled Retrocausality, Experiments and Theory.